Hello and welcome to the Ultra Drive podcast. Today it's a little bit a different episode than last episodes because we have no guest, but we really like to reflect about what our guests said to us about training, about the tips and tricks they use during the ultra events they do. And we also like to reflect about how to train for an ultra, especially in this winter time. So how about you, Aaron? How are you? How was Christmas?
Very good. I spent Christmas on my bike.
Oh.
I did a 5-hour endurance ride, so it was
Outside?
outside. It was a beautiful day for me.
In the rain, or was it?
A little bit.
A little bit.
It wasn't that hard raining, but yeah, it was nice. It was actually warm. It was 11 degrees, so
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty nice to feel again a little bit of warmth because
Yeah.
the last weeks it was here in Belgium it was 2 or 3 degrees,
Yeah, indeed.
and that's not so nice to go outside and do your long trainings. But yeah, it was a beautiful day for me. Melanie, my wife, works as a nurse,
Yeah.
and she worked the whole day, so
So you're free to go out.
yeah, I saw my chance. I
Yeah.
grabbed it.
That's how you have to do it.
Yeah, of course. That's maybe not so nice that you need to work on a holiday, for example. But like coming on New Year's Day, she also need to work. But yeah,
So you will go out again.
yeah, I will go out again.
Yeah. The same for me. I'm really looking forward to go out for some long hours. I wanted to do it today, but it was raining all day long a little bit. And I stayed inside on the indoor trainer. I did 3 hours on the indoor trainer. I was really wet
Yeah,
because of the sweat. But I did the Mont Ventoux 1.5 times.
I saw it.
yeah.
I saw it. It's in Strava. I saw it the event. It was
Yeah.
a pretty good time.
Yeah, I stayed in zone 2 actually.
Yeah.
Zone 2 heart frequency, not with the power meter. I felt quite good. Last week I was a little bit tired, so I took a rest week, but it worked well because this week I feel like I have 20 watts more with the same heart frequency.
Yeah.
It's motivating to see
Yeah,
that.
of course, and that's something that was a pretty good time.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because I stayed in zone 2, heart frequency wise, not power wise. But last week I was a little bit tired. I saw that my heart frequency was a little higher, so I trained less and I took some rest. And this week I was surprised to see that my heart frequency was a lot lower and I can push 20 watts more with the same heart frequency. So I'm really glad to see it's happening in this way.
Yeah, what did you change in your training? Did you go slower or did you train a little bit more on intervals?
Both actually, because I bought a power meter in the end of October, so I started in the beginning of November to train with the power meter, and since then I'm training slower. I see normally I train with the heart frequency around 150, and now mostly I'm around 136, 137. So I'm slower, but I do more intervals as well. Because I like to see higher powers on my Garmin, and I didn't do it before. So now I know more what I'm doing thanks to the power meter. With the heart frequency, it's more difficult.
Yeah, you can't always go out and just rely on that heart rate.
No,
Because, for example, right now with the holiday season, and then you eat a lot,
Yeah.
and not so healthy, but when you go out for a ride the day after, your heart rate is higher. It can be 5 beats higher than normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, your zones are totally different then, but your power is maybe the same.
Yeah.
So that's why that's the difference in heart rate and training with a power meter. I also prefer training with a power meter because also you learn a lot more about how you're feeling, how your progress is.
Yeah.
Because, for example, when you do a 5-minute test, not a 20-minute, because it's too exhausting to do it maybe 2-3 times over a month. But when you do a 5-minute test, full out a 5-minute test, you can learn so much about it. You can just compare your power numbers, and that's you gain so much more with the power meter.
Yeah, that's what I really like about power meters. You can see your progression. Like you say, you can do these tests, FTP test, like on Zwift, or the ramp test, things like that. But also according to your heart frequency, with which heart frequency do you ride at which wattage, which power. And I really like to do it as well, to see my zone 2 heart frequency wise, does it change power wise when I train a lot in zone 2 power wise. And I see it changes. And if you just use heart frequency, okay, you're training, but you don't see improvement. And I really like to see improvements. It's motivating. And you go out during the rain on on holidays, because you see you are improving, and that's what I really like about power meters. And like you say, there's so much data you can analyze. It's a whole new world opening for me. That's what I like also about projects, about training, is to learn a lot of things. A lot of things about myself, but just in general, how you can train, how you can use the data. And that's very refreshing for me.
Yeah, it's also a thing about you don't have to use a power meter because it's expensive and this and that. But the best example for me is Tadej Pogacar. He always he always looks more towards his heart rate because he knows his heart. He trained with his heart rate since he was 12 years old, I think. And so he said, I know my heart rate, I know it through and through. So I rely more on my heart rate than on my power numbers. Of course, his trainer is looking to his power numbers, but in a race, for example, Tadej is looking more towards his heart rate because he knows how his body feels. And for example, when he goes out for a ride and his heart rate is, let's say 135, but after a while it's 145, he knows, okay, I'm going too hard or something isn't right with my body. And it's more about a thing like I'm choosing this and I stay with that to get to know your body better and better.
Yeah, indeed. And also to control your progression, like how much load can I take this week? And with the heart frequency, it's almost impossible to do it. There are some ways to do it, but nobody does it. But with the power meter, with the TSS, it's so easy just to follow your chronic training load, acute training load, and to see when you are in shape or getting in shape. Maybe you will get sick, and it's very difficult indeed to just use the heart rate to measure all these things. So indeed, it's expensive, but
it helps you a lot.
Yeah, I think we have to make distinctions if we are talking about training for ultra event. Do you want to be competitive, or is it just finishing the ultra event and be a little bit of a tourist, see the nice region, and indeed you are a winner when you finish the ultra event. But I think there is a difference between doing an ultra event to be first or to be competitive, or just doing it to finish. And if you're just doing it to finish, I don't think you need a power meter. Of course, it's fun, and like me, I really like to learn things about myself and learn things about what I'm doing. So for me, it's just an intellectual geek side of me. But if you are just doing it to finish the ultra event, you don't really need it, I think.
Yeah, 100%, 100% right. And as I said earlier, you don't have to buy a power meter to ride good. When you know your heart rate through and through, yeah, you also will learn a lot
Yeah.
about your body and how your body is reacting at that moment. But for if you want to improve,
Yeah.
I can only recommend it to buy
Yeah.
something like a power meter. But yeah, if let's say you're starting out and you're doing your first ultra, yeah, you don't need that. Just try and get the basics right, the basics of training right, build your base.
Yeah.
Good, easy, slow endurance rides. Do some intervals, and you will have a good ultra.
Yeah. Maybe that takes us to the subject of today. How do you train for an ultra in winter, for example? How can you prepare for, let's say, I have my first ultra this year in mid-April. What do you think I should do right now? What would you say to your athlete?
Well, first of all, you need to have a look at the course of your ultra, because one ultra is maybe more flat than the other one. So you will need to look, okay, for example, now you race across France, you will have pretty big mountains.
Yeah.
For example, called La Bonnette, so that's a climb of plus 1 hour.
Yeah.
So you need to get used to that, exercise, let's say, and for example, when you're doing an ultra in the Ardennes, it's different.
Yeah.
You will not have a climb of 1 hour, let's say max 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. So that's a total different effort that you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to look at. But yeah, as I said, it starts always with doing the basics right, and build a good base, a good foundation, and then you can go towards a little bit more intervals. And then the last month, you need to focus on the race specific circumstances. For example, 30 minutes effort or a 1 hour effort.
Yeah. But what I see, you always hear winter miles are summer smiles. And then you think, okay, I should do a lot of winter miles to have a good summer. But it's raining. It's not really attractive to go out. On my indoor trainer, I'm not able to be there for 4, 5, 6 hours. So now I'm more focusing actually on raising my FTP, doing some intervals, then doing a lot of miles. And I think when spring is in the country again and I can go out more, then I'll do some longer rides and focus more on those pure zone 2 power-wise endurance rides than I'm doing now. So I feel like, okay, now I'm doing more interval than I'm doing during summer.
Yeah, but that's a different approach, but it's also good because you're building a better FTP.
Yeah.
And also, when is the race across France?
That's in June.
In June, so there's a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know, when you start training in February, and then you build your base, so it's very good.
Yeah.
But that's the common mistake that everyone almost makes. For example, the cycling season starts in beginning of March, so everyone wants to be good in March.
Yeah.
But for example, me, I know that I'm not good in March because it's cold, a lot of wind here in Belgium. So my first peak is in May, end of April, beginning of May. So I know my winter is totally different than when you know that you're good in the first part of the season.
Yeah.
When you know, for example, let's say Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, their first peak is in end of March, beginning of April. So their winter is totally different than our winter, for example.
So you cannot just copy what the pro cyclists do or what somebody else does who has maybe another objective.
Yeah, and also the pros are built totally different because they're riding years and years and years. And maybe, for example, you're just starting out with cycling,
Yeah.
or you're preparing for your first ultra event coming summer. You don't have that base of a Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah.
So you have to be honest with yourself and do something different than the pros.
And I think that's also an error a lot of people make. Like I started cycling again in the end of May last year, so I can still improve my FTP a lot. Like Wout van Aert, he won't improve his FTP a lot, I think.
No.
So it won't change a lot in the beginning of the season, the end of the season. My FTP, I mean, in the beginning of November, it was 60 watts lower than now. And probably now I didn't do the test because I just do it once a month. So I will do it in 2 weeks. Probably now it's a little higher again. And that's why maybe it's better to focus on that, on raising the FTP when you're starting as well.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people aren't used with it, because, for example, you start out with cycling, you will improve a lot.
Yeah.
If you're just doing zone 2 rides or just easy rides, it doesn't matter. Or even when you go out for 2-3 hours just pushing the pedals, you will still improve.
Yeah.
Because you go from nothing to something. And so you will raise your FTP so fast. But then the hard work will kick in.
Yeah.
Because then you will come to a point that the improvement doesn't go as fast as previous points. And then you need to focus on your training. And that's something why you need to take a trainer, for example, a coach. Because we know, okay, do this workout on this day, then you need to do that workout the day after, for example. And you will slightly become better and better and better.
Yeah.
Because when you're just doing what you did in the start, you will not improve. You need to trigger your body and
a certain sequence of trainings. And
then you will improve step by step.
Yeah.
But it will not go as fast as previous.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And that's something interesting, because I think a lot of people they start with the challenge, oh, I will do a 300 kilometer ride, or I will run 60 kilometers, and they start from almost zero. Like you say, then it's going fast, you are improving, and suddenly you hit a plateau.
Yeah.
And then people get demotivated. That's when a coach can come in handy.
Indeed. You will need to kick through that plateau.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody can improve on everything, every type of thing. And that's something we learned a couple of years ago. They said VO2 max isn't trainable.
Mm-hmm.
Today it's a total different story, and they say VO2 max is trainable.
Yeah.
So, for example, that's also something, the training structure and then everything we know about training and food, for example, it changes every day, let's say.
Indeed.
If you compare it to 2 years ago, we know so much more about the body and how our body reacts to certain workouts.
Yeah, indeed. And that makes it interesting how our first guest, Marike Blomme, how she trains. Okay, it's swimming, so it's a different sport. But she said she's not doing a lot of intervals. She's especially focusing on the pace that she will be swimming during the event. So she's always training at the same pace, actually. But she's swimming since years and years. Yeah. So probably she cannot really improve her pace a lot. I think for sprints, for 200 meters and things like that, that's different. But she cannot raise her FTP in swimming, because she has already a high FTP.
Because I know you can't say it about a woman, but she's getting older.
Yeah. Well,
it's just a true thing. Sorry, Marieke, for that, but
we are all getting older, I think.
When you're getting older, your explosiveness isn't that great. It will not become better than it was. So you will need to train on a different thing. And but yeah, Marike is a very good coach,
Yeah,
very good coach. But maybe I think she needs to do some intervals.
Yeah.
Okay, again, who am I in
Yeah.
comparison to her?
We are
But
just reflecting about things we
yeah,
know
yeah.
and things we hear. So yeah.
But I think when she's doing maybe some little intervals, I think it will improve her, because everyone needs intervals.
Yeah.
That's a common mistake everyone makes also in ultra cycling. They say, oh, it's just endurance, I don't need to train, for example, VO2 max. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You have to train it for your body to become better, to break through that plateau.
Yeah.
That's something, everyone makes, I think.
And also it's fun to do an interval.
Yeah.
Because when you're training all the time at the same pace, or almost the same pace.
It gets boring.
Yeah. Sometimes that's why a power meter for me changes a lot as well. It's just fun to ride at a zone 4 or 5. and then you see it as well. It's objective. With the heart frequency, till your heart frequency is in zone 5, you're tired and you will stop.
Yeah, but that's it. It takes a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
I think it was around 8 seconds that it takes to get your heart rate up.
Yeah.
To the right zone.
Even a little bit more, I think. Training Speaks, they say 30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. Yeah. Sometimes it also relates on person to person.
Yeah, indeed.
For example, for me, it goes really quick.
Yeah.
Towards the zone that I want to ride in. So yeah, that's also another thing why a power meter is better.
Yeah.
For example, when you do, I did last weekend a 4-hour low zone 2 endurance ride with 6-second sprints. So when you're doing that on a heart rate monitor, it will not go as well as when you do it with a power meter. Because after my sprints, I always can compare it.
Yeah.
Okay, the first sprint I think it was 1,000 watts. And my last sprint was still 1,000 watts. So I know, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because, for example, when you do your first sprint at 1,000 watts and your last sprint is only 800, okay, you know I'm not really there with my foundation.
But why didn't you do another one then?
Sprint.
Yeah. If you were still at 1,000 watts.
Because that was the workout I needed to do. It was enough for that day.
Yeah. Because with Training Peaks, or the founder of Training Peaks, they have a way of putting their intervals in the training, and they say it depends of interval to interval, but when you drop your power with, let's say, 10%, then you're not getting the same results anymore. Then you're not getting the effects you want to have with that interval. So they actually continue to do the intervals until they get the drop they don't want to see. And then say, okay, now we are fatiguing and now we are there, so I did enough intervals.
Yeah, but I don't think that's suitable for when you're training a lot.
Yeah.
That's something when you are a time crunched athlete.
Yeah.
So let's say sub 10 hours.
Yeah.
But for example, normal cyclist or competitive cyclist or ultra cyclist, you go 15 hours plus a week.
Yeah.
So that's total different story.
Yeah.
That's also something everyone compares them to the pros, but the pros, it's their job.
Yeah.
They're training 7 hours and then they're doing nothing. They just recover, have the right food, the right nutrition. When we are coming home after work, for example, we need to do the laundry for our wife, or for example, I never do it, but okay. It's just an example. We have other stuff around our head, and we don't have the same recovery as those pros.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's also why we can go towards 25-30 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because I'm right now coaching an athlete, a cyclist, who was totally fatigued by his previous coach. He needed to do 25 hours in the winter.
That's a lot.
And when the season started beginning of March, he was totally exhausted.
Yeah.
He couldn't finish a race. He was burned out.
That's
Also
something you
mentally.
can see in the data, no?
Yeah, and then I said it to him when he came to me. Okay, Aaron, have you still a place for me? I said, of course. So I did a talk with him, a little small talk to get to know him, of course. And he said it to me. I needed to do 25 hours a week from my coach. I said, that's crazy. It's crazy. It isn't sustainable for a whole year, because you need to be fit for a whole year.
Yeah.
For a whole, let's say, cyclist, maybe 1 month off, but for 11 months, you need to be in shape.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that and also going to work, it's not realistic.
But how many calories do you burn at that moment? I mean, last week I sent you a message about Christian Blumenfeld, I think it was, that he was training on average during in the week 31.5 hours, I think, for the last 3 years. So that's also in winter, summer, everything together. And scientists thought it was impossible because the metabolic rate cannot go that high. So it depends on your metabolic rate, how many calories you can burn on long term. So if you're training 25 hours and you're still doing your job, or you're a student, or you have to do laundry, things like that, it takes a lot of energy as well. So of course he gets burned out because he cannot eat that many calories for that much time. You can do it 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes a challenge week, but not every week, and especially not during winter because it's cold. It takes a lot more energy as well.
Also, it takes a lot more energy.
Or during the night, it's
So,
and then you get home and you need to clean your bike as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But also for the example of Christian Blumenfeld, it's also, he's a pro.
Yeah, and
the recovery is very good. His coach is a very good coach, one of the best coaches in the world, because I also follow his ideas a little bit of working with my athletes. And we're going to talk a little bit deeper about the Norwegian method. But also Christian Blumenfeld isn't that lean.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
When you I saw him running in Paris at the Olympics. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
So he can burn a lot of calories.
Yeah, and
But when you're lean and it's winter, it takes a lot of the cold takes a lot of energy from us to let our body warm up.
Yeah.
But for him, also he's from Norway, so he grew up in the cold, and his body is used to compete or to sport in the cold winter days.
Yeah, indeed. And he's not a normal guy either.
Yeah, so his VO2 max numbers are crazy.
Yeah.
They said it's 199 towards 100. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They say he's the best VO2 max athlete ever on this planet.
Oh.
So
yeah.
It says a lot.
And also what you say about the Norwegian approach, I saw the message, and there was 85% in zone 1 of all his trainings. So that is really a lot. And 10% in zone 2, I think, and 5% in zone 3. So we say we have to train in zone 2, we have to train in zone 2. It's really slow, it's boring. But he was training in zone 1 for 85% during the last 3 years.
We have to look, we have to make it right. The Norwegian method isn't training's method everyone uses. So it's a different story. You have to be aware of some metrics, 2 very important metrics. So they're working with 3 zones. So the zone 1
those are the zones.
So we have a lactate threshold 1.
Yeah.
And you have lactate threshold 2. So lactate threshold 1 is around 2 millimoles.
Yeah.
And lactate threshold 2 is around 4 millimoles.
Yeah.
So that's where the point is that your blood isn't able to clear all
accumulate,
the lactate. So he trains below LT1.
Yeah.
But when you go high in LT1, you're still in your zone 2, but in a low zone 2.
Yeah.
And that's a different approach because, for example, Inigo San Milan, he was for a couple of years the coach of Tadej Pogacar. He was the founder of Zone 2, the famous Zone 2 workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And his approach to Zone 2 is, I want my riders to ride high in the Zone 2. But high Zone 2 is not below LT1.
Yeah.
It's a little bit above LT1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's totally different, but I train for, let's say now a month with the Norwegian method. And I feel when I'm doing long endurance rides, I recover so much faster.
Yeah.
Yesterday I did 5 hours and I'm not exhausted today.
And training low zone 2.
Low zone 2.
Yeah.
Low zone 2.
Yeah.
And previous, when I did 5 hours in my zone 2, so in the approach of Dr. San Milan, I felt really fatigued the day after.
Yeah.
So my recovery score wasn't that good when I went to sleep. And yesterday I did 5 hours, low zone 2. My recovery was very good.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
To stack up all those hours and hours and hours of training.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you need more than 10 hours a week.
Yeah. It's not a thing about time crunch cyclists. Don't get a look on the Norwegian method.
Yeah.
It's for riders or athletes when you go above, let's say 15 hours, 13, 15 hours above, then you can take a look on the Norwegian method.
Yeah.
Also, one thing, you can't train a year long on the Norwegian method specific. Because it takes a lot of your body and it's a very different way of training.
Yeah.
Because Norwegian method, for example, the first thing you need to do is get a lab test or to do a test with a lactate meter, because Norwegian method is very much on the data analysis, and then actually they're constantly training with their lactate meter with them. So to be constantly aware of, okay, am I still below LT1?
Yeah.
And for a normal guy, let's say for us to, we can't go out and ride with our lactate meter with us. Okay, we can, but we need to buy a lactate meter and all sorts. And it takes a lot.
Does it exist that it connects to your Garmin?
They're busy with it.
Okay.
But the UCI, and they say it already exists.
Yeah.
But the UCI, for example, the Cycling Federation, doesn't want to get it into the pro peloton.
Yeah, but you can train with it.
Not really, because it officially doesn't exist.
Okay. But if it would exist, you cannot.
You can train with it.
Yeah, you can't just do competitions with it.
Yeah. For example, Visma Lease Bike train with their glucose meter.
Yeah.
To be constantly aware of your glucose.
Yeah.
That's also something different.
Yeah.
But you have so many possible ways of training.
Yeah.
Something that I saw it actually also on Strava of Christian Blumenfeld, that he trained with his meter that takes care of his body temperature.
Yeah.
So he trains also with his body temperature.
Yeah.
And so that's also a total different approach of training.
Yeah.
And they say it's a very good way of training with your body temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what way?
Yeah, you learn also a lot about your body.
Yeah.
And you have a more specific way of how your body reacts to certain efforts.
Yeah. Also for heat adaptation, maybe okay, when it's warm, then I have to get less power. I don't know, to not heat up too much. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
But there is also you also have specific zones in that approach, and first you also need to do a test to get your temperature zones, for example. Yeah. So it's a total different story than the Norwegian method.
But you said the Norwegian method is using different zones than the normal, let's say 5 or 7 zones. Can you compare them, like zone 1 and the Norwegian method? Is that zone 1 and zone 2 that we use normally, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing you can say is, so we have 3 zones in the Norwegian method. So the recovery one, or below LT1, then you have the moderate, between LT1 and LT2, and then you have above LT2. So you have 3 zones, just split them in 2, and you have 6 zones. So that's also a way of training. That's something I use right now, because low LT1 isn't a zone 2 effort. It's recovery. So you also you need to make also go in, put them in 2 different zones. And then you have six training zones.
And is that also what Insight uses with the fat max? That is somewhere in zone 2.
Fat max is it's a calculation, but it's very different, and also differentiates from person to person. There isn't really a thing about make this thing and then you at your fat max. That's something with a lot of testing you will know your fat max. There is when you ask it on, or when you're searching on the internet, you will find a tool to calculate your fat max, but you can try, but I don't think that it's reliable. Because it's so person specific that
so you need a lab test, actually.
When you want to train really good, I only can recommend a lab test.
But if you don't want to pay for a lab test, how can you test your improvements as a normal beginning ultra runner or cyclist, for example?
By doing the same test. Prepare yourself in the same way. So let's say you will do your test at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you will need to have wake up, eat the same thing the evening before, sleep the same hours, make sure that you have a good night, because when you wake up and you don't feel well, don't do the test, because it's not reliable, because you're not fully recovered from the training yesterday, for example. So that are some things that you need to have the same structure over and over and over again when you do a test. And it can be a 5-minute test, a 50-minute, 20, 1 hour test. Doesn't matter, but you need to do the same approach towards your test.
What tests do you use, for example? Do you use a 5-minute test like you said before?
So the first thing I make is a power profile. So there you have a full out sprint, a 5-minute test, 12-minute test, 20-minute test. And we need to do it a 1 hour test, but it's not everyone likes it.
Nobody likes it.
So, but they always say the 1 hour test is the best test you can do. Because it has a clear vision of how much wattage, how much power you can sustain over 1 hour. But not everyone likes to do it. Nobody actually. So they did it towards 20, and then 20-minute all-out test, and there it takes 0.9095, and there you have.
There's a correction factor.
There. Then you have your FTP, but it's not actually 100% correct. But let's say 3 best things you can do is, so first one, at first place, a 1 hour test, second place 20-minute test, and then so a regular FTP test, and then you have a ramp test. So I say I prefer to do a 20-minute test. Because you're not that fatigued after it. You go all out, but the day after you can go out for an endurance ride. But when you do a 1 hour all out effort, it will take some recovery. And a ramp test, it's some ramp tests are good, but you will also need to take your lactate with it. Then you will have a clear thing about your RAM test.
Yeah.
Because I see the RAM tests on Zwift, but I don't believe in it.
No?
No. It's too short.
Yeah.
It's too short.
Yeah, it's quite short actually. Yeah. So you really have to do some intervals before the RAM test actually.
Yeah, also because that's something some people are just going in, riding 5 minutes, their legs a little bit loose, and then they go out for the 20-minute test. But it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
You
no.
will need to do a good warm up.
Yeah.
Before you start with your 20-minute test.
Yeah. What would you recommend for warm up?
So in total, the workout, it takes 1 hour and 50 minutes.
50?
So
Oh.
15.
15.
Yeah. So we start with a warm up, 10 minutes, and I just below zone 2. Nothing really special, and then we go out and do some sprints. 10-second sprints, 3. And then we recover a little bit, 2 minutes. And then we go out for a threshold interval of around 2 minutes to get up to those powers a little bit higher. And to get your body start working. And then we go with a 5-minute recovery, 5 or 10-minute recovery. And then we go with a 5-minute all-out effort. So 5 minutes. But if you will, let's say 95% all-out effort, you still need to get something. Okay, I can go faster.
Yeah.
But let's say an all-out, and then you will take 10 minutes recovery, and then you will do your 20-minute test.
Okay. Why do you need to do it? Is it more reliable than your 20-minute test?
Yeah, because you will need to get some fatigue before you start with your FTP test.
Yeah. To get the motor working.
Yes, and also to get a better idea of your FTP.
Yeah.
Because 20 minutes isn't an hour.
Yeah, indeed.
That's why you need to do your 5 minutes all out to get some fatigue in your legs and to have a little bit less anaerobic capacity available before you start with your 20-minute test.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to do such a warm-up.
Yeah. Okay. So Zwift has to learn something.
Yeah, but I know it's very good and easy to do a RAM test.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot of time. And also when you're, as I said, every test is good.
Yeah.
But you need to do it also the same.
Yeah, indeed. You have to compare.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it always without warm up, okay, then maybe just continue doing it without a warm up to just being able to compare.
Yeah.
And if it's improving, then you are improving actually.
Yeah, of course. But the main thing is you will never have the right idea. Okay, how much is my FTP?
Yeah.
You will. I think when you go to do it with a RAM test, your FTP will be higher than you will do it in my way.
Yeah.
With a 5-minute effort before your 20-minute effort.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
And then again, maybe you're overtraining, and then it's difficult actually.
Yeah, indeed. And also, you have to make the note that the FTP for ultra events, it doesn't really count actually. Okay, if you have a higher FTP, then your zone 2 will be higher as well. So
it helps with training.
Yeah, but you really need to be able to push a percentage of your FTP for a long time, and that's different. And I read a book about a German guy, I think Stefan Barth, he's called. He's a famous trainer for ultra cyclists, and he said he does a 2 times 8-minute tests to measure the FTP, and then he will do a ramp test, and I think every 1 minute.
After those 2 times 8?
Yeah, but not same day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he wants to know at what time, what heart frequency you will have at a certain power. and he really want to see like, okay, every minute there's 5 watts more, for example. Does it change over time? If you are pushing 200 watts at 140 heart rate, for example, next month will maybe be 130 heart rate, maybe without your FTP changing. But then you're able to push more watts with the same heart frequency. So you can push them maybe 220 watts with 140 heart rate. So you can go faster actually in ultra events. So he's using that type of test as well.
Yeah, but isn't it also when your heart rate gets slower at a certain power output? Does that mean that your FTP is also higher?
Not always, because what he says, and he does it for himself, and we see the graphics, the graph in his book, his FTP at a certain moment doesn't change or even gets lower. But the heart rate at, for example, 200 watts also get lower. So actually he's improving the percentage of the FTP that he can push for a long time. And that's the critics he has on zone 2 is till 75 or 85% of your FTP. He says if you train a lot in your zone 2, then your zone 2 will actually personalize and it will get higher. And that's he says it's actually very important for ultra events that you can push a lot more percent of your FTP at the same heart rate, so you can go faster at a longer time.
Yeah, but that's something, an ultra race isn't a regular cycling race.
Yeah,
it's
indeed.
totally different.
Yeah.
An ultra event of let's say 800 kilometers it's totally different. It's
Yeah.
a different effort.
Yeah, indeed.
It also asks a lot more of your body.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm saying this, maybe it's better when you do an ultra to look towards your heart rate.
Yeah, I think to train, because after a while your heart rate gets lower. If you are riding for, I think, 12, 13 hours, then your heart rate don't get up anymore. Even it's like
drops.
Yeah, it drops. It stays at 120, 130, maybe 140 if you're pushing hard. But you won't get to 170 or 180 anymore.
No, because your body is so fatigued.
Yeah, indeed. But your power can still stay the same. So then okay, normally my personalized zone 2 gets to 220 watts. I can push 210 watts for all day long, for example. Then but it's just a test. It's just a test to see if you're improving in a submaximal effort. And because FTP, it's maximum effort actually, and it's what you can push 1 hour. Some people say 30 minutes, 75 minutes. But in the ultra events, you push a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
So they want to invent or use a submaximal test as well to see, am I improving in a submaximal way?
Yeah, also a lot of coaches are doing those submaximal efforts to measure the fatigue of their athletes, to know, okay, my athlete is fatigued, I need to take a recovery week, for example. That's why they also use submaximal efforts. But yeah, ultra cycling is so interesting because you can approach it in very different ways.
Yeah.
For example, his way of approaching the training method, and you can then also go towards the Norwegian method.
Yeah.
Or you can just do it the regular pyramidal training.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many approaches, and but the biggest,
you have to do what you feel like.
Yeah, but that's the biggest tip I can
Yeah.
say. Just do what you like and
Yeah.
do the training method you believe in, and you have time.
Yeah.
for.
I think also that was the message of Bettina. She said that she's running, swimming, cycling, and then 1 month before her event, she's getting specifically into the sport that she has to do on the event itself. I really thought that is also refreshing. I don't know if you can be really competitive at that moment. I have no idea because you're not doing a lot of specific training.
Well, yes, because 1 month before she does specific training,
Yeah,
and in 1 month you can gain a lot of things. And she's so in a good shape
yeah,
because she's running, she's swimming, she cycles.
yeah,
So yeah, she's in a good shape, and then when you work a month towards the big goal,
yeah,
I think it you can be in a good
yeah,
in a good place to be competitive.
yeah. I really liked her approach because we're all focusing on the same sports. And also what Marike says, as a cyclist, you're not hitting the floor with your foot.
Yeah.
So for the bone density, it's also very important to run, for example. And then you need to have another approach. I can't train for 15 hours a week cycling and then go out for a run and then do some core stability and some flexibility and do laundry. I can't.
Yeah, but her approach about running barefoot,
Yeah,
I wanted to try it, but I said to myself, okay, maybe you will have injuries and
Yeah.
you will have setbacks in your cycling training, so that's why I didn't do it. But yeah, it's a very interesting approach towards running.
yeah.
I found it really interesting.
It's also time consuming because you really need to do a lot of exercises with your feet. You have to do mobility, you have to do strength, you have to do stability. It's crazy because we aren't used to use our feet like we should.
That's something that,
No.
that I heard from her, and that she said it in the podcast, or it was afterwards, I don't know. That she said, when we are born, our foot are immediately into shoes, and it shapes our foot so different than it should be.
Yeah, indeed. And that's why I always ask the runners that come here, do you train running technique? And most of them, they said no. But I think it's very important. I remember when I lived in Paris, we went, I don't know which day it was, but let's say Wednesday evening, we went to the track. It was next to the Eiffel Tower. That was quite cool. But on the same, it was a track around the football field. So we had the track team, the athletics team, and they were doing core stability and running technique, and it was so beautiful to see. And then you had the same age, tour kids, with the football team, and they were doing core stability, but it was shaming to see actually. But I think it's important to think about how does the body move through space? How are we supposed to move? And we all have a way of running that's true, but some technique and training some technique, it can improve your running pace, but can also avoid injuries. And I think it's very important to think about it, especially when you run for 100 kilometers. After 100 kilometers, your running technique will probably look like shit. But you won't train 100 kilometers. If you're training, then you're training 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, and then you can think about it. And when you get it in your unconscious mind, then your body knows how to do it. And that's like when someone is doing, I don't know how it's called, high jump, when they jump above the vault, like Tia Hallebaut.
Living legend.
Yeah, indeed. She changed actually technique with the University of Ghent, and then she got Olympic gold medal. But she was training a lot of her time on technique, and it's something very specific, I know. But technique is so important. Also, the sprinters, it's technique. I think for a long distance runner, it's also very important to train your technique. And if you don't want to run barefoot, I wouldn't even recommend it if you aren't going for it 100%. but maybe you can do still some exercises of barefoot running, but still use your normal shoes just to get the strength in your feet, just to avoid injuries.
Which exercises are there?
So you have intrinsic muscle, muscles in your feet, and those are the small muscles that start in your foot and goes to the toes, for example. And then you have the long muscles that they start around your knee and goes to your foot. And these small muscles, the intrinsic muscles, if you are just wearing shoes all the time with a lot of cushioning, they get really weak. And also, if you're wearing shoes all the time, your feet aren't actually moving anymore. There are a lot of joints in your foot, but if they always do the same movement because your foot is taking all the your shoe is taking all the pressure, they actually don't have a normal movement anymore. Okay. So those little muscles, they aren't used to contract when they should contract. And like Marike said, from baby on, I can see it in the crash right now. Some kids, they have shoes that are way too small, that aren't practical. They don't bend at the toes. So actually, they won't have any muscles in their feet. So just training these little muscles, it can help a lot. And it will help you a lot with your pacing as well. And it are simple exercises you can do.
Okay, so maybe it's a total different thing, but I need to wear special soles because I'm I don't know how you say it in English.
Pronating.
Yeah, pronating. And she always said to me, you need to buy stiff shoes so you can't bend them in.
Yeah.
Is that a fault or is it right?
A barefoot runner would say you need the other type of shoes.
Okay.
But if you will just change to the other type of shoes, your feet aren't used to it, so maybe you will get injuries. Okay. So gradually you should train your muscles, and then gradually you can run even barefoot. But if you are using stiff shoes, then actually it's like wearing some splints. I have some pain on my knee, and I will always wear a splint around my knee to avoid to have pain. But then your muscles aren't working anymore. So in the long term, it's getting worse.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Those shoes, they are great to avoid pain in the short term, and that's fine because I don't want to have pain either. But we should train it. There's a reason why your feet will pronate.
And is it because we wear shoes from when we were a kid?
That's one reason. Yeah. There are many reasons. It can also be that your neck is blocked, and that has an influence on your feet. But that's more the chiropractic approach. But if you really check the feet themselves, they really should be able to move freely. I have the other way around. I really have stiff feet, so I'm wearing barefoot shoes all the time, and I even have silicone between my toes to spread my toes. It's a toe spreader actually, and that activates the little muscles in my foot. And when I wear it, my legs are really, really fatigued. It's like, whoa, I ran a marathon, and I'm just working at my chiropractic office. So it's.
Is it also a way to train your muscles to get stronger muscles?
Yeah, indeed. So it's very interesting when you dive deep into it. It's a whole new world.
Maybe it's a interesting thing for ultra runners or ultra cyclists.
Yeah, I think so. Especially also in cycling. Okay, we don't have contact with the ground, but
in our shoes we're always tied it up.
Yeah, and people they even don't feel it. When I say to people, oh, I will check some new brand, Holland brand from shoes. It costs a lot, but I just want to check it out. Shoes for cycling. Why do you need shoes for cycling? Just buy some shoes. That's so important because indeed, when your shoe is too small, you will always have compression around your toes.
Yeah.
And there are some small nerve endings between the toes. And if they get compressed, first of all, they can get injured, inflammation, and then you have a morton neuralgia, it's called. But these nerve endings, they get signals, or they will send signals to your brain, and your brain will interpret them like, okay, I'm walking on some stones, so I need to have less pressure on that foot. So you won't be able to push that hard actually.
You will lose power.
Yeah, indeed. And you will lose power in your back muscles, in your neck muscles, and your hamstring and your calf muscles. The back line, the superficial back line of your body. So I think it's very important, and it's very difficult in cycling shoes. I don't know why. They are always that narrow, because maybe they want to be aerodynamic, but if you lose power,
yeah. Maybe they want to be, tighten them so much up that that we are really, that we can't slide in our shoes.
Yeah.
That's why it always gets that tight.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, I then also think, okay, when you have, for example, a toe spreader in your shoe, you will also can tighten up your shoe.
Yeah, but I have shoes that you can use with a toe spreader.
Yeah.
Like Zero, it's a brand actually for running, especially for barefoot running, but with shoes to protect your feet from small stones or things like that. But
there are no cycling shoes.
No. I don't wear a toe spreader in my cycling shoes.
Okay.
But I think it must be possible to have narrow shoes around the heel, for example, but that just follow the natural shape of the foot. And now at the toes, they always get jammed in those toes. I went to the cycling shop and I tried 47, the size 47. Normally I have size 45. I couldn't even stand it for 10 seconds. I cannot cycle with it. So I'm searching for cycling shoes. But yeah, it's a topic. It's difficult because a lot of people they aren't aware of it. They don't feel it anymore because they are always jammed in their shoes for all day long. So actually, it's normal position for them. But feet, if you check a foot of a baby, it's quite round. It's not a triangle. And I see many patients in my office, their feet, it's like a triangle. And then okay, there is a lot of problems with it, and it's normal that body will have back pain, or that person will have back pain, because these muscles, they don't work. And then you can adjust the back, and it will help. It will get some pressure off the nerves. It will stimulate some muscles.
So sorry for this interruption, but we had some technical issues. So we skipped the New Year's party and we ended in the year 2025.
It's a time travel here with the Ultra Drive podcast.
Yeah. No, but we had some technical issues, and so we said we're going to do it another time. So here we are.
Yeah, indeed. We finished last time with explaining a lot of things about the barefoot runner and the feet and the muscle, and also the effect of the feet and the position of the foot on the neck, on the back, and things like that. I think we can announce that next week we have a special guest who will talk about all these things, especially for cycling. Someone who developed a cycling shoe that will count in all these biomechanical effects of the foot towards the hamstring and towards the back muscles. So I'm really, really, really excited to be able to hear his story.
Yeah, indeed, especially because we two are more into cycling than, for example, running. So for us, it's really nice and a chance to get to know why someone builds such a shoe.
Yeah, indeed. And I'm curious to hear his story as well, because he worked also for other brands, and afterwards he developed his own shoe. So I really want to know his drive, why do you take a risk to start on your own, to start something new, something that is not really known? I never heard about the brand before. So I think it will be very interesting.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, yeah, Jelle, let's go back to 2024.
Yeah.
What was your, let's say, best sport moment in the year of 2024?
Yeah, for me, it was a Remco Evenepoel. We stay Belgian.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't follow Pogacar several moments in Tour de France. I think 3 moments that were for me very important, and it was I think the second day on the hill in Italy. He couldn't follow. He was a little bit further in the bunch, and then he came back just before the sprint. So he didn't lose time at that moment, but he had to pull himself. There was someone in his wheel that wasn't helping at all.
Yeah. Carapaz.
Yeah, and he did it completely alone. That was amazing because Vingegaard and Pogacar, they were pulling, they were riding, and after being dropped, still closing the gap. It's not given to everybody.
It was impressive.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
And then you saw he's really motivated to give everything. And then same week, I think, the Galibier, he got dropped again. And then he closes the gap with Vingegaard first, and then he's still second in the sprint. So that for me was also a sign of, okay, Remco Evenepoel, he's going for it.
Yeah, because here in Belgium there were a lot of doubts about Remco.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying, yeah, but in the big mountains he will not be able to do it and to cope with Tadej or Vingegaard, for example.
Yeah.
So that was, how can we say it? It was like he said towards every Belgium, okay, look, I can do this. I can do this.
It's also a sign to Vingegaard and Pogacar. It's I'm here as well. You won't drop me that easily. And there was a third time as well. There was in the gravel etape. He got dropped close to the finish, and I thought he will never come back. But he pulled, and he came back. And for me, that was the biggest one actually, because it was a hard race. It was a frustrating race. There was nobody of his team, and in the front of the bunch, he had to do it alone. But he did it, and I was really amazed.
Yeah, and let's not forget in the gravel stage, at a certain moment, Remco, Tadej, and Jonas were alone.
Yeah,
the 3 big guys.
Yeah,
and it was only Remco and Tadej who wanted to go ahead with the attack. And Jonas said, no, I'm not riding together with you.
Yeah,
you two are just too strong for me. And that was also a big sign.
Yeah.
From Jonas and to show towards Remco, okay, you're a big guy.
Yeah,
he proved it. Yeah, he became world champion. He won the Vuelta, but in Belgium there were still a lot of doubts about Remco, and in this Tour de France, the doubts about Remco stopped.
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah, especially in the Giro, his first Giro, the gravel etape. It was his difficult one. So there are a lot of doubts about Remco on gravel routes. Can he do it? In descents as well. But he did it. And so, like you say, there were a lot of doubts, and now it's like, okay, goodbye doubts. I'm here.
And then that touches also Remco, his let's not say his motivation, but his belief in himself. All the media, okay, Remco, is he able to do it? No, I don't think so. You know the stories here in Belgium. But I raced with him together in the junior category. And I saw him there riding over cobblestones. It was just amazing. It was just amazing. We couldn't do anything to try to challenge him. He just rode away from us. So I don't think, put him in the peloton of the Tour of Flanders and he will finish in the first 5. I'm certain of it.
That would be very interesting. Especially this year with Pogacar.
Yeah,
that will do it this year with
no.
fracture. Maybe he will do the Giro. I don't know, because Pogacar won't go to the Giro.
Yeah.
So it might be chance.
But I think if you are in Remco's situation right now, the Giro will be too soon, I think, to be there fully prepared.
Yeah.
So that's why I maybe would go for Tour and then focus on the World Championship, because it's also a course that's suited for him.
Yeah, indeed. And it's a 1-day course. And I really want to see Pogacar, Vingegaard, and Remco Evenepoel in a 1-day course against each other. Because I think Remco, if he has his full potential, he gets close to Pogacar.
Yeah, very close, very close.
Maybe a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's hope for the Belgians. And your moments, Aaron?
Yeah, you can talk about. It has certainly be Tadej Pogacar. The way it was his year.
Yeah,
let's be honest. He won Strade Bianche in a very, very, very impressive way.
Yeah, that's true.
An attack on 85 kilometers from the finish.
Yeah.
He said it before the race.
Yeah.
I'm gonna attack on the Monte Sante Marie, I think. And everybody said, "Oh, it's still 85 on the Monte Santa Maria. It will not be. He will not attack there." But he did it, and he finished Strade Bianchi in an impressive way.
Yeah, but then there was still the excuse. There was no Wout van Aert, no Mathieu van der Poel, no Evenepoel. And afterwards,
he goes on. Giro, so impressive.
Yeah,
again, nobody could challenge him.
6 stage
wins. After that, we knew before the season started he wanted to do the double, the famous double. Giro Tour. Normally, between the Giro and the Tour, you ride a Dauphiné or a Tour de Suisse. But he chose for a different path. He went to the Tour of Slovenia, his own country, and he won there, of course. And then he started the Tour de France. Everybody doubted him a little bit because, in the modern days of cycling, it never happened that somebody was able to do the double.
Yeah.
But then, the Tour started, and it was immediately clear that he was the better guy.
Yeah, indeed.
Also because of the harsh crash in Basque country from Jonas Vingegaard and also Remco Evenepoel. Let's not forget it.
Indeed.
Forget that. They both had pretty hard injuries, especially Jonas. It was a very hard injury. But besides that, it was so impressive to watch him at the Tour de France and climb. He was so good. And then that's why I don't like it that he didn't start in Paris.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see that duel between Tadej and Remco.
Yeah.
But we know the story with Slovenian Federation and not selecting his wife, Urška. And that's why he decided, okay, I'm staying home.
And Urška will ride for Evenepoel now.
Yeah, for the same boss.
Yeah.
But then
it's a spy.
Yeah. Maybe. But then he went on and to the World Championship. And that was my biggest moment of 2024.
Yeah.
It was almost, how long was it? How far away was it? I think 90 kilometers from the finish line he attacked. Suddenly he attacked. He saw that Mathieu van der Poel and Remco were a little bit further behind in the peloton, and then he saw his chance. And again, everybody said it's not possible. It's not possible to do a solo of 90k, but he did it. And so it's so much dominance this year.
And if you see the Belgian team, it was a really good team.
Yeah.
But they were nowhere at that moment. And you can say maybe they had a bad day. Maybe, I don't know.
I think a big factor is Wout van Aert.
Yeah.
I think he's a winner. He puts a certain mentality in the team.
But I think Pogacar was very strong as well, and they didn't have the courage to fight anymore. I think
maybe. Yeah.
And that was actually the day we had our first podcast with our first guest.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, "Oh, it's a little bit pity we won't see the final,"
Yeah.
but actually you saw everything you had to see.
Yeah.
It was
We saw the attack.
Yeah.
I think we were together at
I
that
think so.
time.
Yeah.
We saw the attack, and in my mind I was going, probably he will win the world championship.
Yeah.
He will be world champion. And indeed he was. But what a beautiful world champion we have.
Yeah, indeed.
The last years, Mathieu van der Poel, Tadej Pogacar, Remco Evenepoel also.
I'm a bit afraid actually that Pogacar will win the 2 coming years as well. I like when it changes the world champion.
I like it also.
Yeah, but the Rwanda indeed, 5,500 altitude meters, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe Vingegaard would be a nice champion as well.
Yeah, maybe when he has a goal, he's always there.
Yeah,
that's one thing. But also, I feel there's a big year coming for Wout van Aert, and if there's one guy who can do it, I think it's Wout.
I hope so.
Yeah,
it would be nice for his team as well.
Because I hope he doesn't crash. In the first races of the season.
Yeah,
for the whole season. But I want to see a fully prepared Wout, fully prepared Mathieu, and a fully prepared Tadej on the start of the Tour of Flanders.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Yeah,
yeah. But I think Wout maybe is a little bit less explosive than Pogacar and Mathieu.
Yeah.
Although he wins sprints Tour de France. So
but I think it's also a way of training.
Yeah,
I think Wout has other strengths.
Yeah,
his endurance is so good.
Yeah.
He said about himself that 2 or 3 weeks into a Grand Tour, he still improves.
Yeah.
So normally it's different. It's a different way. Your performance decreases because of the fatigue, but he improves.
Yeah, he drops Pogacar.
Yeah, that's something uphill. That's something crazy. I said it to my wife at that time. That's something you will never see again.
Yeah.
A green jersey dropping the yellow jersey.
Yeah,
forget it. You will never see that again.
No, indeed. Yeah, it was impressive. Yeah. I still have goosebumps when I think about it.
Yeah, and also I remember 2 years ago, he was dropped on a steep climb.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, 10 seconds later, he was there. And he pulled another 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And that was something, wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What a mindset you need to have to do this.
He found extra batteries.
Yeah.
Maybe he took the bike of Cancellara in 2010.
Yeah, that's another story.
That's another story, indeed. So maybe let's wrap it up for this podcast. So you say the final words of the podcast.
Yeah.
That's our tradition.
Yeah, indeed. So thanks to our listeners who started listening to us in 2024. In 2025 we'll have much more podcasts and other projects that are currently running. So follow us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and for everyone, have a nice 2025, and till the next time. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.